What's up, everybody? This video that you're watching right now is the year in wrestling 1997. Finally, I get to talk about 97. It was a great year in wrestling. A lot of great stuff happened. It's very, very entertaining to watch. WCW and WWE. It was just great television, great wrestling, great storylines. It was just a lot of entertaining stuff happened in 97. I'm going to kick it off talking about Royal Rumble 97 pay-per-view from San Antonio, Texas, the Alamo Dome, where they drew like at least 60,000, maybe more, or maybe less. But it was a huge crowd at the Alamo Dome for Royal Rumble 97, the first ever Royal Rumble event held in a giant stadium, because all the other years they were basically held in arenas. Here we go with Royal Rumble 97, and I hope you enjoy this video, The Year in Wrestling 1997, Part 1. First match was a midgets match, or dwarfs. I don't know what you would call them. I guess they were little people, or dwarfs. They weren't midgets. You had the team of Mini Vader and Mini Mankind get defeated by a team of other midgets that I can't pronounce their names. I'm sorry. But Mini Vader and Mini Mankind lost. I don't know what WWF was doing at the time, hiring these dwarfs to wrestle on pay-per-views. And they would eventually bring in another midget, really small guy named Max Mini. He was really tiny. He was probably like maybe 3 feet tall. I don't even know if he was 3 feet tall. But he wore a mask, and he was a pretty good worker. So they used him throughout 97 and into 98 a little bit. I don't get why they were using dwarfs and midgets in 97. I guess because there's something different to entertain the fans. And later on SmackDown in I think it's 2006, SmackDown had a stupid juniors division. They called it the juniors. I didn't understand that, and I thought it was really stupid. Anyways, back to Royal Rumble. Up next, for the Intercontinental Championship, Hunter Hearst Helmsley defended against Goldust, and Hunter Hearst Helmsley would retain his Intercontinental Championship. Up next was Ahmed Johnson versus Farouk, and they were in a feud for a couple months before this. They were going at it, and they hated each other. Ahmed was fighting the Nation by himself. There was Farouk came out with at least 12 other guys. Some weren't even in the Nation. D'Lo Brown was one of them. What was their names? The guys that had rapped when the Nation came to the ring. They were a PG-13, a tag team. They were, I believe their names were Wolfie D and JC Ice. One of them was Bill Dundee's son. I forget his name. I forget the guy's name. But one of them was Bill Dundee's son, the famous wrestler that was in Memphis for years and years. Anyways, Ahmed Johnson defeats Farouk by disqualification, and then he would take out the entire Nation and all those guys that were at ringside with the Nation. He'd take out PG-13 and Crush and PG-13 and other members of the Nation got involved, and then Ahmed Johnson powerbombed, I believe it's D'Lo Brown. He was pretty overweight at the time. I think it's D'Lo Brown. Ahmed was standing on the steel steps on the outside of the ring above the table, and he picked him up like in a power bomb position, and then put him through a table. The crowd loved it, and it was a pretty awesome spot because you didn't see many guys getting power bombed through tables in WWF ever. Unless you watched ECW, then you saw that. Up next was Vader defeating The Undertaker. And they had a pretty good match. And then you had a 6-man tag between luchadors. And I cannot pronounce a lot of their names. Hector Garza was one of them. His team won. And then Hector Garza, I believe in 98, would show up in WCW as part of the Cruiserweight division and a luchador. But he did not wear a mask. Anyways, up next was the Royal Rumble match. You had Stone Cold Steve Austin in it, Bret Hart, the Godwins, Jake the Snake, I believe Goldust, and Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and Jerry Lawler actually got off a commentary, and he was put in the Rumble. He gets in the ring. He lasts about 5 seconds. Bret Hart punches him in the face, and Jerry Lawler flies over the top rope and gets eliminated in like 5 seconds. That was pretty damn funny. And then he sits back down on commentary and started claiming Bret Hart sucker punched him and that he wasn't ready. Whatever. In 96, Jerry Lawler hid under the ring in the Rumble match. He hid under the ring for like 30 minutes until someone finally found him and pulled him out. And then in 97, he gets eliminated in like 5 seconds. Who else was in it? Bart Gunn was in it. Davey Boy Smith was in it. The Sultan. Who was the Sultan? He was Rikishi under that mask and pretty god-awful gimmick. Who else? Owen Hart was in it. The Undertaker, Vader. They were all in the Royal Rumble matchup. Stone Cold Steve Austin gets eliminated before it ends by Bret the Hitman Hart. But the referees did not see. So Stone Cold climbs and gets back in the ring. And then at the end, Stone Cold dominated a lot of the Rumble match before Bret Hart came in. Before he was entered into the Rumble, Stone Cold dominated, stunned a lot of people, and threw their asses over the top rope. And then Stone Cold eliminated Vader and Undertaker at the same time. Threw them both out. And then after Stone Cold's eliminated, he throws Bret the Hitman Hart out to win the 1997 WWF Royal Rumble match. But it was controversial because Bret Hart threw Stone Cold out earlier. So Stone Cold was not going to WrestleMania to get a world title shot. And Bret Hart would not either, because Stone Cold and Bret Hart would feud and work a submission match at WrestleMania 13. So Stone Cold wins the Royal Rumble 97 technically. Well, he did win it. It says he won it in the record book, so he won it. Last match, the main event of Royal Rumble 97 was the WWF Championship on the line. Psycho Sid defended against the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels, and Shawn Michaels would win back the WWF Championship in his hometown of San Antonio, Texas. He wasn't born in Texas, but he's lived there for probably over 20 years. So they called it, they always announced Shawn Michaels from San Antonio, Texas, because he's lived there probably for 25 years. But I believe he was born somewhere else. I can't remember what state right now. Shawn Michaels wins the WWF Championship back after jobbing to Psycho Sid at Survivor Series 2 months earlier. So Sid only gets a 2-month WWF title run. Pretty disappointing, but I think they wanted Shawn Michaels to to win the title, to go on to WrestleMania 13 to defend it against Bret Hart again, because they wrestled in 96 at WrestleMania. But Shawn Michaels got a knee injury in February 97. After he won the title, he got a knee injury, and he was told by doctors that his career was over, and because his knees were really messed up, so he had to retire. At least he thought he had to retire. He came on Raw, did a long promo, and started crying, and he gave up the WWF Championship because he was injured. And that promo was called, Shawn Michaels, they called it that he lost his smile. Whatever. Because he cried, so they called it and said he lost his smile. So that was February 97. He had to give up the title because he's injured. That was Royal Rumble 97. I thought it was a very good show, and it was very entertaining. Way better than Royal Rumble 96, in my opinion. Now I'm going to talk about WCW Sold Out 1997. It was the first ever sold out pay-per-view event, and it took place from Des Moines, Iowa. The concept of NWO Sold Out, it was a good idea. It was a good concept, but it did not work out. How it looked on television, on the pay-per-view, they had the NWO. They had the NWO letters in the ring. They had a black ring, black mat. The apron said New World Order. So the show looked way different. And it looked good, having the NWO letters on the ring. They kicked off NWO Sold Out with the NWO members. 6. Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Hollywood Hogan, Eric Bischoff riding on the back of garbage trucks. Or just giant trucks. They were riding on the back of them with NWO flags hung up on the trucks going into the arena. And it was time to start NWO Sold Out. You had Eric Bischoff and Ted DiBiase on commentary because I guess they didn't want any WCW commentators to do the show. And if they really wanted to make Sold Out a success, I guess they should have had their own referees and not WCW referees. But whatever. It was a mess anyway. I don't think NWO referees would have really helped the show because they would have just screwed every babyface wrestling the NWO. They would have just screwed them. And that's what basically happened anyways in every goddamn match at NWO Sold Out 97. First match, Nick Patrick, he was the NWO referee. He was the official referee for every single match on the pay-per-view. Up first was Masahiro Chono, NWO member from Japan. He was basically an NWO member when he was in Japan and when he would come over to work in WCW. Masahiro Chono defeated Lionheart Chris Jericho, and it was a pretty good match, but I thought it went on way too long. Big Bubba Rogers, who was the Big Boss Man, but they couldn't call him the Big Boss Man in WCW, so he's Big Bubba, defeated Hugh Morris by countout. And I think Big Bubba was a new member of the NWO at the time. Jeff Jarrett defeated M, or Mr. Wall Street, whatever the hell his name was. He was IRS. And I think Mr. Wall Street, whatever the hell his name was, Wall Street, I don't know what they were calling IRS at the time. I think it's Mr. Wall Street or something. and I think he was even a part of the NWO for a short time, was IRS. But Jeff Jarrett defeated him. Steve McMichael hit Wall Street over the head with the steel briefcase because Steve McMichael is WCW. And a couple WCW guys were in the crowd. They were part of the WCW roster. I guess they were there to watch the WCW talent, to watch their backs and see and support them against the NWO. Up next, Marcus Bagwell, newly NWO member, defeated Scotty Riggs, his former tag team partner. Scott Norton, who was a part of the NWO, and in '97 they got way too many members. You had like 50 guys in the NWO. It was a mess, and it was overkill. Marcus Bagwell defeated his former partner Scotty Riggs. They had a decent match. Scott Norton defeated, I already said Scotty Riggs off. Scott Norton defeated Diamond Dallas Page by countout. Rick and Scott Steiner, the Steiner brothers, defeated WCW World Tag Team Champion Scott Hall and Kevin Nash when referee Nick Patrick was knocked out during the match, and then a 3 count was made by WCW referee Randy Anderson. The decision was later reversed, and the belts would return to the Outsiders, I believe. Here's a picture from old WCW magazine. I just thought I'd share because I think it's a cool ass picture. So Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, the Outsiders in WCW with their Outsiders shirts on. Very popular shirt. There they are, the Outsiders. Up next was a ladder match, which you never saw before in WCW. This was their first ever ladder match. U.S. Championship on the line. Eddie Guerrero defeated Syxx in a ladder match to retain the U.S. title. And it was a pretty good match. It could have been way better, but it was what it was. They could have gave Syxx and Eddie more time, but they did not. Main event was World Champion Hollywood Hulk Hogan taking on the Giant for the world title. And Hulk Hogan and the Giant wrestled to a no contest because at the end it was just chaos, and the NWO came out to the ring and interfered, and they eventually beat the crap out of the Giant. And then the NWO Sold Out pay-per-view ended. So that was NWO Sold Out. As I said, the wrestling, the matches, none of them were very good. The best match, in my opinion, and the most entertaining to watch was Eddie versus Syxx in the ladder match. The other matches that Sold Out were pretty much crap and really boring. But hell, WCW tried something different, putting on an NWO pay-per-view. It was pretty innovative, but it didn't really work. Now I'm going to talk about In Your House from February '97. I believe it's called Final Four. Pay-per-view matches. They had some pre-show matches, but these were on the pay-per-view. Mark Merrow defeated Al Snow. He was known as Leaf Cassidy still. Crush, Savio Vega, and Farouk, the Nation, defeated the team of Flash Funk, Goldust, and Bart Gunn. Intercontinental Champion Rocky Maivia defeated Hunter Hearst Helmsley. And before this pay-per-view, Rocky Maivia would win the Intercontinental title for the first time on a Monday Night Raw, defeating Triple H. I think that was the same Raw in February 97 that Shawn Michaels gave up the WWF Championship. Up next was Doug Furnas and Philip Lathon defeating World Tag Team Champions Owen Hart and Davey Boy Smith by disqualification when Owen Hart hit Lathon with his Slammy Award. Main event was the Final Four matchup for the vacated WWF Championship. The winner would become the new WWF Champion because earlier Shawn Michaels had to give it up because he had a knee injury. People in this match going for the WWF Championship were Bret the Hitman Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker, and Vader. And Vader got busted open in this Final Four match. He bled a lot through his mask. He bled a lot. I believe the cut was over his eye. I don't think he got busted open the hard way. He probably bladed and juiced. Anyways, Bret the Hitman Hart tossed Stone Cold Steve Austin over the top rope. And then the Undertaker knocked Vader off the top rope. And then it's down to Bret Hart and the Undertaker. The winner was going to become the new champion. Bret Hart then pinned The Undertaker and won the WWF Championship, and then Stone Cold Steve Austin would interfere after the match, I believe. Or after Stone Cold interfered, I believe Bret Hart defeated The Undertaker to become the new champion. And then I'm sure a lot of fans thought Bret Hart is the new champion now and he's going to go to WrestleMania 13. Well, that did not happen because the next night on Monday, I had to burp. The next night on Monday Night Raw, after the In Your House Final Four pay-per-view, after Bret Hart won the Final Four matchup to become new champion, Bret Hart took on Psycho Sid on Raw and lost the title back. 24 hours later, Bret Hart loses the title and only has a 24-hour title run. Pretty damn shocking. I was really surprised when Sid defeated Bret for the title, and because obviously they wanted to go with a Bret Hart Stone Cold match at WrestleMania because they were in a bitter feud. And then they thought, let's have Sid be champion and go to WrestleMania and take on The Undertaker. And Sid and The Undertaker did not have a bad match. It was pretty decent for two big guys at WrestleMania 13. So that was In Your House Final Four from February 16th, 97. Now I'm going to talk about WCW SuperBrawl 97. That took place from San Francisco, California on February 23rd, 97. And in 97, WCW went and did 12 pay-per-view events. And WWF also did 12 in 96, and they continued in 97. SuperBrawl 97, it was a pretty damn good show. Probably better than In Your House Final Four from February. SuperBrawl, I think, was way better than the In Your House February pay-per-view from the WWF. First match, Six defeated Cruiserweight Champion Dean Malenko to win the Cruiserweight title. So the NWO got some more gold around their waist. They already had the tag titles, and they already had the world title. Now they got the Cruiserweight title. So the NWO was riding high in early 97. And they were super over with the crowd. Just about every WCW fan had an NWO shirt. Up next, the team of Conan, La Parka, and Viano 4 defeated the team of Juventud Guerrero, Super Calo, and Cyclope. Television champion Prince Iakea defeated Rey Mysterio Jr. and they had a pretty damn good match. DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, defeated Buff Bagwell by disqualification. Up next, U.S. champion Eddie Guerrero defeated Chris Jericho, and they had a damn good match. Could have went on longer. It would have been better. Public Enemy defeated the Harlem Heat in a... What the hell was it? Public Enemy defeated Harlem Heat and the Faces of Fear in a triangle match. Jeff Jarrett defeated Steve McMichael after hitting Steve McMichael over the head with a steel briefcase. I don't even know why. I don't even know why Jeff Jarrett went to WCW and he still had his lame wrestling gear from his Double J gimmick in WWF. Jeff Jarrett, I thought, never fit in well at all with WCW or their roster. He just did not fit well. And I don't blame Jeff for going because he needed a paycheck. He had a family to support. So I don't blame him for going, but just as a fan, I don't think Jeff Jarrett fit in well with WCW. And I don't think anybody really cared that he jumped from the WWF to go to WCW. And Steve McMichael as a wrestler, he was garbage, he was crap, he was shit. He was the shit. He was awful. Chris Benoit continued his war with Kevin Sullivan. Chris Benoit defeated Kevin Sullivan in a San Francisco death match. In January, before SuperBrawl, in January, WCW put on a Clash of Champions, and Benoit and Kevin Sullivan had a Falls Count Anywhere match again, and they beat the crap out of each other again, as they did a lot in 96. This was January 97 at Clash of Champions. Also, Clash of Champions 1997 from January was from my hometown of Milwaukee. I didn't get to go, but I wish I would have. It would have been cool to be at a WCW event during the height of the NWO, but I didn't get to go. I wish I would have. Up next, after Benoit defeated Kevin Sullivan, up next was the main event. World Champion Hollywood Hulk Hogan defeated and pinned Rowdy Piper after Macho Man Randy Savage interfered. And he came out, I believe, with Sting. They were side by side. I don't remember what Sting did, but I do remember, I think Sting came down to the ring to go after Hogan. And Randy Savage then, I believe with a spray paint can, hit or threw it into Hogan or hit Rowdy Piper with a spray paint can and knocked him out cold. So Randy Savage turns heel and joins the NWO. Like they needed any more members, they did not, because they already had 50 goddamn members. But Randy Savage, I'm sure WCW did not know what to do with him. I'm sure Randy Savage wanted to join the NWO, because if he was in the NWO, then he wouldn't get attacked and beat down and buried by the NWO. So why not join him, right? So I don't blame him at all for joining the NWO. If I was a talent back then, I would have wanted to join them too, so I wouldn't get beat down by them every week and look weak. So that was SuperBrawl 97. And as I said, Hogan defeated Rowdy Piper. And it was a match. Hogan and Piper was still a match. A lot of fans wanted to see. It wasn't very good, but it was still two absolutely mega stars in wrestling, in Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper. So a lot of fans were still interested to see them wrestle, but they never put on good matches. So that was SuperBrawl. Now I'm going to talk about WWF WrestleMania 13. Took place from Chicago. First matchup was for the tag team titles, or no, it wasn't. It was just a fatal four-way tag team match. You had the team of the Headbangers in a tag team elimination, 4-team elimination match. The Headbangers took on the team of Doug Furnas and Philip Lathon and the Blackjacks and the Godwins. The Headbangers won the 4-team elimination match, and it was pretty entertaining to kick off WrestleMania 13. Up next was a dud of an Intercontinental title match at a WrestleMania. It just did not work. They didn't work well together. I believe they're even related. I'm talking about Rocky, The Rock, and Rikishi, who was playing the Sultan character. They did not work well together at WrestleMania 13. The Intercontinental title match was it was just bad. And Rock was really new to wrestling and new to the business, but he picked it up really fast. But The Rock, in WrestleMania 13, The Rock and the Sultan were in no position to be putting on a great match. They just weren't, because they were never put in that spot before at a WrestleMania event. This was The Rock's first WrestleMania event, and he debuted just a couple months earlier in November '96. So he's really new to the business. This was his first WrestleMania. I'm sure The Rock was really nervous. And this was Rikishi's second WrestleMania, because excuse me, Rikishi worked WrestleMania 9. Rikishi worked as a part of the Head Shrinkers against the Steiner brothers. So Rikishi, this was his second WrestleMania. They just did not work well together, and the match was not good. The Iron Sheik was the manager of the Sultan, and the Iron Sheik even got involved. And then The Rock's father, Rocky Johnson, even got involved. So The Rock retains the Intercontinental title and defeats the Sultan. The match was only 9 minutes, 44 seconds. Up next, Hunter Hearst Helmsley defeated Goldust, and they had a pretty good match. But it went on a bit too long, I thought. World Tag Team Championships on the line. Owen Hart and Davey Boy Smith wrestled to a double countout against the team of Mankind and Vader. And Mankind and Vader were managed at the time by Paul Bearer. But they did not get the job done and win the tag titles. Double countout, pretty lame finish for a WrestleMania. Up next was an epic, awesome WrestleMania match. It will go down in history forever, and a lot of people like it and love the match. I'm talking about the submission match between Bret the Hitman Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold bled a lot during the end of the match when he was put in the sharpshooter. He bled a lot, and he passed out. He fucking passed out from the pain. He did not quit. He did not quit and submit. But that Ken Shamrock was very new to the WWF. I never thought he was going to wrestle, actually. I just thought he was there to be the special referee. But then, I believe in May '97, on a Raw, Ken Shamrock would make his WWF debut. And then Ken Shamrock in May at an In Your House would make his pay-per-view debut against Vader in a no-holds-barred match. But anyways, Ken Shamrock was a guest referee. He was really famous from the UFC. At the time, a lot of people knew Ken Shamrock as a badass motherfucker from the UFC. He was tough as hell. He was a badass. He was one of the first guys ever to jump from the UFC and MMA to jump into pro wrestling. And he did very well. Ken Shamrock picked up pro wrestling very fast, and he was very good. And he had a lot of good matches with a lot of guys. He had great matches with The Rock in '98 and with Owen Hart in their short feud. So Ken Shamrock was the first from UFC to come over to the WWF and pro wrestling. And after Shamrock, they would even hire Dan the Beast Severn, also famous UFC fighter from the very early days of the UFC. Ken Shamrock and Dan Severn dominated the UFC, and Horace Gracie also dominated it, but he never went into wrestling. So that was a submission match. It was epic. It told a great story, and I loved it. And Bret Hart gets the victory because Stone Cold passed out, and Ken Shamrock stopped the match and then picked up Bret Hart at the end and slammed him down to the mat to break the sharpshooter hold. So that was awesome. Very good submission match. Very good WrestleMania match. It made WrestleMania 13 better than it was, having Bret Hart versus Stone Cold on it. Up next was a 6-man tag Chicago street fight. The team of Ahmed Johnson and the Road Warriors, the Legion of Doom, defeated the team of the Nation of Domination, Crush, Farouk, and Savio Vega. And it was a Chicago street fight. And it was a brawl, and it was a street fight, and it was pretty entertaining. Up next was the main event of WrestleMania 13. The Undertaker challenging for the WWF Championship. The Undertaker went on a very long run without winning a world title at all. From 91, when he first won it from Hogan. He went from 91 until 97 of not being WWF champion. The Undertaker is an all-time great. He's a legend. He's a Hall of Famer. And there's I have nothing but good things to say about The Undertaker. The guy in the 90s, he was the heart and soul of the WWF. He was, and he is, the godfather of the WWF. He's a phenom. He's just an all-time great WWE legend, is The Undertaker. And he always did what the company wanted. He always did. I mean, he's loyal as hell to the WWE and Vince McMahon. Because I'm sure The Undertaker could have left and went to WCW for way more money, but he stayed with the WWF and Vince. And the champion was Psycho Sid. Going into WrestleMania 13, The Undertaker defeats Psycho Sid to win the WWF Championship. And Bret Hart did interfere, I believe, in the beginning of the match. Bret Hart interfered, got on the microphone, and he was starting to turn heel already. The wheels were in place. Everything was in place already for Bret Hart to turn heel. He got on the microphone. He cut a heel promo. He put down Undertaker, put down Psycho Sid, and was basically saying this is bullshit, that he's not getting a title shot at WrestleMania 13. So, and then I believe Psycho Sid would powerbomb Bret Hart in the ring and then get on the mic and say, get your little pussy ass out of here, or something like that. Undertaker winning the title at WrestleMania 13, that was awesome, that was great. I was happy to see it. And the submission match was very good also. And the Chicago Street Fight, I enjoyed it. So you had three very good entertaining matches on WrestleMania 13. It was better, in my opinion. WrestleMania 13 was much better than 12. But 12 did have that epic Iron Man match, and they had a great, very entertaining brawl with Roddy Piper and Goldust. So WrestleMania 12 was also pretty good, but 13, in my opinion, was better. Stone Cold bled a lot. That added a lot to the submission match. It made Stone Cold look like the toughest SOB in the WWF because he did not submit. So that was WrestleMania 13. And then after WrestleMania 13, you had a Monday Night Raw. I just watched it on the network from April 7th, 97. Pretty damn entertaining Raw. Not everything was entertaining on the show, but the Shawn Michaels promo from April 7th, 97, Monday Night Raw was very good. He basically started shooting on the microphone at Bret Hart. So Shawn Michaels shoots at Bret Hart on the mic. Is very entertaining. That is from April 7th, 97 Raw. If you have the network, you can check it out. It's a great promo from Shawn Michaels talking about Bret Hart and their feud and the hatred that they started having towards each other. The beginning of 1997 was very, very entertaining in both WCW and the WWF. Both companies did some stuff that was just stupid decisions, but you can't make every decision. You can't be perfect in every goddamn storyline and every decision. So I can't blame them for that. Next video, I will talk about WCW Uncensored, ECW Barely Legal, their first pay-per-view ever, and WWF In Your House from April 97, and then I'll talk about the May pay-per-views also. And in May 97, I went to a WWF house show. It was really cool. I actually bought the Stone Cold Says So Uncensored videotape. I actually bought it there. And I also bought a Austin 316 shirt. So that was May 97. That was my first WWE, WWF live event of 97. Years before I've been to many. Anyways, this was part 1 of the year in wrestling 1997. I hope you enjoyed it. And I know it went a little bit long. I apologize, but what can I do? You're either going to watch it, watch some of it, and go to the end, or you're going to watch the whole thing maybe, or maybe you'll only watch 5 minutes. If you watched 5 minutes, thank you. This was the year in wrestling 1997, part 1. I'll be back and I'll do a part 2 and probably put it up on Friday or Saturday. I don't know. Anyways, enjoy SmackDown or enjoy football tonight, whatever you're going to watch. Enjoy it. Have fun. Bye for now.